Welcome everyone to the Ampersand View, a regular installment at ICE 365 content series, when I invite a member of our research think tank initiative Ampersand to have a conversation about an upcoming topic in the industry. And this topic today, which we are certainly predicting to increase in its importance over the next couple of years, is ESG, environment, social and governance factors, and their growing role in assessing the industry and individual companies' investability potential. And to talk about ESG and the investment climate in the US in general, we have another well-engaged and active Ampersand member, and that's Lauren Seiler, who is the VP Investor Relations for Rush Street Interactive. Welcome,
hey,
Lauren.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And also thank you for, again, being a loyal and very engaged member of Ampersand and joining us for the many digital speakeasies that we've held over the last year and a half or so. Let's jump straight to the first question and talk about ESG indeed. This is a concept of growing importance for mainstream investors that you often deal with. How does that demonstrate itself in the world of iGaming and sports betting for Rush Street Interactive in particular?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a very important topic, Eva. It's a little bit of a challenging question when you're talking about ESG to the online gaming space, right? But I think the key factor here for us at the moment is focusing on the social aspect of ESG. So, when you look at focusing on that social aspect, it can mean a lot of different things, but ultimately it flows into reputation. A large part of that, I think, comes from how we treat our people, both internally as well as some of our customers. Internally, when you look at it, it's an importance placed on corporate culture, a collegiate team, equitable treatment, a structure that really encourages idea sharing and empowerment of our employees and fostering an environment that's really viewed as open, kind, professional, and caring. But when you look externally, it's about operating with the utmost of integrity. So the highest of ethical standards, a focus on delivering the highest level of consumer protections, data protection, responsible gaming initiatives, only operating in fully regulated tax legal markets, things like that, and then layer on customer service. Because if you think about it, in today's environment, a gaming organization might not necessarily be considered socially responsible. It's just due to the nature of our business. But at RSI, I think it's really in our corporate culture to do everything that we can within our control, at least, to maintain that highest level of real social responsibility.
And when it comes to the investors that you deal with on a daily basis, pretty much, how do they perceive safer gambling frameworks? Are these seen as a key factor in making those investment decisions?
I think when you're talking about RG, it's an important topic for everybody. It's important for the states. It's important for the regulators, for operators, investors, and even for our players alike. In our case, we have a lot of protections embedded in our platform that help us to identify problem gambling and really facilitate self-exclusion. Plus, on top of that, we're very heavily involved in a lot of the different national responsible gaming campaigns that are put forth by the different states, as well as nationally and different organizations like the AGA. These tools and efforts might not directly be viewed as a key factor in making investment decisions, but I do think they're certainly appreciated by investors. One feature that I would kind of call out here that does stand out in being valuable both to investors and also from an RG perspective and also from an operational perspective is our payments process. So one of the big benefits of largely owning our own technology stack and more specifically our PAM is how it flows into payments and in withdrawals. So we have a system called Rush Pay. It's our self-developed in-house payments platform that offers real-time approvals on over 80% of player withdrawal requests. So this means no waiting for your money once you've requested it. It also means if you're a player and you're concerned about your gaming habits, you can very quickly and easily walk away without any resistance from RSI. So your withdrawal wait time for a lot of our peers could be a lot longer. So if your wait time's longer, you might potentially be tempted back and be tempting back a player who's decided to walk away with a multi-day wait window. That money's still sitting in their account, it's still accessible to make wagers, and it's kind of tempting them sitting there. We make sure that we try to eliminate that in all cases where we can.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit right now and talk about diversity and inclusion. My understanding is that it is part of that ESG context. We're seeing as well, being part of or being owned by a large private equity. And when we talk to them about ESG, D&I is certainly a large part of that conversation. Can you talk a little bit more about the role that D&I plays in your strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, again, similar to all the topics we've kind of touched on here, D&I is a topic that's important for all companies, not just RSI. It's really no secret here. I think that the gaming industry is one that's historically been very male dominated. And we are continuously making a concerted effort not only to hire the most qualified, diverse talent across gender, race, religion, creed, preference, but also to foster a corporate culture that really drives inclusion and tolerance of everyone on the team. It's really a family environment. And I'm not just saying that, it truly is here at RSI. And we kind of like to joke internally that we only focus on excluding one group of people from our family: jerks. No jerks allowed, period, end of story. But, all joking aside, there's industry-wide work to be done here from a D&I perspective. We're very proud of the progress that we've made in fostering opportunities for underrepresented groups. I'd even argue that one of our best hires of the year would be a fantastic woman that we recently hired named Tammy Barlow. She's our director of corporate responsibility. So she's made an enormous impact for our team as it relates to continuing the implementation of our RG initiatives, but also driving diversity, equity, inclusion, and our ESG efforts. Now layer that on, and Tammy reports into another fantastic asset to our team, who's our Chief Compliance Officer, Laura McAllister-Cox. Now, Laura is a seasoned industry veteran. She's built an incredible reputation over the years, not only for her knowledge, her diligence, her professionalism. She's a talented attorney, but also for her focus on ensuring equal opportunity for underrepresented groups and for mentorship, which is something you really don't see a lot these days in the corporate environment. And she's just been so great with it. In fact, her career-long efforts were just recently recognized by IGV as one of the most influential women in gaming. So, it's having people like that on the team that I think really help to foster the inclusive growth environment for us. And, it's clear what these two ladies bring to the table in their own individual roles. But I also think it's important to highlight that I'm sitting here speaking to you today as a senior member of our finance team. And these other two ladies that I highlight and mention, they're senior thought leaders on our compliance team. And there are many, many other colleagues that I can just as easily highlight from underrepresented groups all across our organization working together to make this machine run.
Yeah, awesome. And it's really great to have you as well as part of this interview. And indeed, congratulations to Laura from your team for becoming the top 10 most influential women of iGaming.
Thank you.
Now, moving on kind of beyond ESG, I just wanted to touch upon just broad investment climate in the United States right now. When it comes to betting and gaming, what are investors are looking for specifically?
That's a good question. And it's actually constantly evolving, right? What investors are putting value on one day might be different from another day. But a lot of variables at play right now, I think, just given the nature of how different gambling and betting companies are structured. So it could be land-based, it could be a hybrid organization, it could be purely interactive, global versus domestic, plus the very active M&A environment that we're seeing out there right now. So, I think that the most relevant thing for us to probably speak towards here as interactive players, and just given the very young nature of the US iGaming and OSB market, is the ever-evolving landscape and the lack of federal framework making these questions a little more challenging. But I think the biggest question for investors right now is profitability. There were a lot of months there as new online gaming and OSB companies came through where investors were strictly focused on revenue generation, and it didn't matter at any cost. There was a proverbial land grab, and customer acquisition was key. CACs, MAUs, ARPMAUs, all kind of leading the way as far as relevant KPIs. And this led to a very, very intense promotional environment, which we've all seen, and often, very irrational high levels of spend. And that leads to negative profitability. But it was okay, right? There was revenue growth, and that's what investors were focused on. Now it feels like the narrative is really shifting as investors become more and more concerned with the path to profitability. And that's particularly in the face of these very high customer acquisition costs and marketing spend. So, retention, lifetime values are becoming more important, as is the sustainability of the revenue generation in the face of a potentially rationalizing marketing and promotional environment. People are starting to come out and say, yeah, maybe we should pull back a little bit here. So, the big question out there is what companies can get to profitability fastest, and if at all. Will their business models allow for success in that realm? How will differing tax regimes amongst the different states affect margins and profitability profiles? How are the states, how are the states differing, or how are the states' profitability mix shake out when it's balanced between customer acquisition and retention, marketing offerings and LTVs? And what will the ultimate EBITDA profiles look like for these different companies? So, now it really seems like investors are starting to appreciate the concept of operational responsibility, returns-driven investment as a gauge for future success and profitability, as opposed to just straight revenue generation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. I think it will be really interesting to then just really continue observing the evolution of the market and investors' interest in it going forward, and also to see what that responsibility and ESG, what kind of role they will play on those factors. But thanks so much today for speaking to me. Again, for being involved in Amsterdam, and I hope to see you at ICE, perhaps in a live environment.
That would be great. I'd love that as well.
Yeah, or at one of our digital speakeasies. Thanks a lot.